You look at Man United over the last few years; they're like a shipwreck, aren't they? Just going down, and it's a whole new restructure of a whole squad, of the whole team, that ethos. When they're under Ferguson, he was one game away from being sacked, and then suddenly all the managers that come through, I think that turn a whole squad around in the mentality, have to have 3-4 years. My problem in football now, it's like they want the magic wand to go in there and go, bang, I want it changed straight away. You can't do that. Surely the people, the money men, obviously they want success straight away, but you've got an ethos. You've got to bring the youth system through. You've got to bring a culture into a club. Obviously the culture is rotten, and I personally think, when you've got players like Pogba there and that, it's never going to work. You need hard-working players that want to be at the club. And look at him, I don't think he wants to be there, and that's one of their star players. So you look at it and you think, right, let's get rid of them and just slowly rebuild again and give Solskjaer, if he's your man, give him 3 seasons at least. You can't just all of a sudden turn around, he's not top 6. I know the money's there and you've got to do it, but there's not that many coaches out there now that can turn teams around like that.
You mentioned there that you wouldn't want Pogba in the club. I know obviously you had exceptional success. You won the World Cup with England in 2003. Why is it you don't like Pogba? Would you have stood for that kind of character, that kind of very individualistic individual in a squad like you had in 2003?
No, you wouldn't. They wouldn't have been around. We had a few, don't get me wrong, like Matt Dawson, stuff like that, but they still had the team in the back of their minds. They were there and they were like, right, it's all about the squad. You've got to have a strong leader. We had Martin Johnson as leader. So really, you've got to have that real top dog. And I think still now, in the old days of Man United, someone like Pogba perhaps could have been there, because as soon as he put his head up a little bit, he'd have been slapped, put into place, play the football you got to do.
Possibly literally slapped.
Yeah,
as well,
exactly.
In the case of some of the former players.
Exactly. And that's just not happening now. You can tell that there's no leadership in the squad. Everyone's sort of fighting for it. And when you've got a person like Pogba there, it's terrible. You can see him just sort of pulling away. He plays when he wants to play, and it's a shame, because when he does play, he's one of the best.
You just see it so rarely, though, right? And I wanted to get your thoughts on captaincy as well, in, I guess, sport in general, but football in this case in particular, because Pogba's sometimes given the armband, and that's even after he said that he wants to leave the club. It's after he's put in a load of performances where it's pretty obvious that he doesn't care. And then sometimes when it's not Pogba, it's Ashley Young or it's David De Gea, and you look at these people, and then you look at Roy Keane up in the studio, and I know that he was a bit of a one-off, but once upon a time you had Roy Keane, John Terry, Patrick Vieira, Steven Gerrard, all of these players in the same division. It wasn't just world football that had a few great characters. It was one country and one league that had all these great leaders. You don't really get them the same way anymore, do you? And do you think that is a big part of why a fallen giant, if you like United and Arsenal to a degree, are suffering so badly?
Yeah, you should have a true clubman that's there, someone that's come through that club, the heart and soul of it. And I spoke the other week on a podcast about England having too many the foreign coaches and things like that, but at club level as well. Like you said, all the great teams that have won the Premiership in football have all had practically like a local type hero as their captain, or someone that's been through there for years, that believes in it, loves that club, rather than a bit. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to call Pogba a journeyman, but he's there for the money, and he hasn't really earned the stripes to be a true Man United legend, to wear the armband. But the problem is, there's no one at the club there that has really got that at the moment.
For me, Pogba becomes less of a United man for having been there as a kid. Because he was there as a teenager and he had his chance eventually to break through. He went before he got it because, to be fair, he saw Raphael play ahead of him in central midfield, and that would be enough to drive anyone over the edge. But I think Steve's spot on. If you're a United man, if you want to play for that football club, you do not go to Juve in the first place.
Yeah, I think that's true, Johnny. And the point is, as Steve just said, he's motivated by the money. And I think that all of us are. Yeah, everyone is to a degree. Money is it plays a role in all the decisions that we make in life professionally. But the point is that you can't leave a club for money at 18, 19 years of age, go off to Juventus, do really well, come back to a club as the world record signing at the time and be the top earner as he has been until very recently when David De Gea got that ridiculous new contract, and try and claim that you're all about loyalty and all about playing for the badge. He said in the summer, I'm looking for a new challenge. Well, it's not as if you completed the challenge at Man United. It's insulting to the club supporters, but the point is that I don't think he cares. I think he gets that people are going to be annoyed by it, riled by it. I just don't think he can care because he's more concerned about trying to land a mega new contract. And he's got Mina Raiola as his agent, for goodness sake. There was a story last week said he wanted 600 grand a week. Blimey, I mean, we're paying
So
out
do I, to be
Alexis
fair.
Sanchez. Yeah, well, we all would, but it's just ludicrous to think that he might get that. But you know what? If you're going to get it somewhere, it's somewhere like United that are handing out 400 grand a week to De Gea, who, as Mark Flanagan, our Northwest correspondent, has said multiple times, he wasn't wanted by anywhere else. He didn't need to give him 400 grand a week. He had a terrible second half of last season. He's the one that should have been saying, I want to stay at United. What are you willing to offer me? Oh, well, we would have given you more, but how about 200 grand a week? Because, quite frankly, his market value had dipped. So, the business sense seems to have gone out of Man United, and that makes me, as a fan, despair. And it's the worst start since 1989-90, when United came 13th. Can you rule out United dropping out of, say, the top half? I don't think you can on the current basis.
I think you absolutely can. Not rule out them dropping out the top 6. We've seen top sides like Liverpool do that. But top half, you can. There is a lot being made of how bad Solskjaer's squad is. I'm going to keep saying this. It's not that bad. He's got that attacking lineup of Martial and Rashford. That is, anyone who thinks that's not a top half attacking lineup is an idiot.
When they're fit.
But when they've got confidence as well. And it looks like they're lacking a bit of confidence, bit of creativity as well. And the difference as well, because they're not playing that well and they're not getting the results, and, at Old Trafford, people would go there and they just wouldn't even get a point, let alone try and think, actually, we can go there and win. So when, under Ferguson, that last season was probably one of the worst squads he had under.
Yeah.
But they won games on the back of their reputation. That reputation's gone now. And, these top teams, it's like it's their cup, or the bottom teams playing against Man United. That's like their cup final still, because it's like, how many times have we been to Old Trafford and got our backsides kicked and played quite well, but we've still lost? On the back of the reputations, 2 goals down, and suddenly think, actually, they're not as good as we think. They haven't got that anymore. Teams will go there thinking, do you know what? We can go to Old Trafford and we can get a result here. Yeah. And that's the problem. Every game they're playing in now is like an FA Cup final, because every team wants to just kick them while they're down.
I thought the West Ham game was a good example of that. It was at the London Stadium, but I didn't even think West Ham were that good, and yet they cruised to a 2-0 win, and that just would not have happened. That might have happened once a season at absolute most, and it might have been in the midst of an injury crisis or something like that.
After Europe or something.
Or
something
like that.
Yeah.
There would have been a mitigating factor, not just 5 games into the season and everything's going pear-shaped, but the young players as well. So much is being put on there, Mason Greenwood and other youngsters like him, but how much more difficult is it coming into a team that's doing badly than one that's doing well? Ferguson was blooding youngsters in title-winning teams, and that's easier, isn't it, than coming into a team that's got the fans on its back, it's got its worst start for 30 years. That's not an environment to start your career in, is it?
No, I know I keep going back to rugby, but I was very lucky. In 2002, I came into an England team that were just winning. It was just, they went everywhere and they won. And, I came in, I think in my first 30 games, I think I lost 1 game, thinking, this is it. What's this all about? This is easy, this. And suddenly the older players started going, and suddenly it was hard to get a victory, because teams got that smell of victory and came and really thought, we can have a go at this. So, with Man United, over the last probably 4 years, you actually look at the squads, the actual... Yeah, there might be quality players there that's in some teams, but there's not a quality squad that plays together, and that they just don't seem to be this unity that they're able to get. They always had a great goalkeeper, which they've got now, but the defence still looks like it creaks. Yeah. It's still conceding goals, and that's where Man United, for 10 years, 12 years, had their backbone. Good goalkeeper, really good centre backs. They always had. Neville,
Steve,
don't get me wrong.
Tuanzebe and Ashley Young as the fullbacks.
Yeah,
they're not the worst players.
Tuanzebe is not even a fullback.
He's not a fullback, and Ashley Young isn't a fullback either. He was a winger, for goodness sake, for most of his career. So we've got a converted winger and a converted centre-back playing at fullback. And how much money have United spent? 600 million in the last 6 years? Something crazy like that. It's just ridiculous. And yeah, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer probably isn't the best manager in the world, but at the same time, I think any manager could be there if he's not backed in the transfer market in the way he needs to be. I think it could be Solskjaer, Pochettino, even Pep Guardiola. There's only so much you can do with limited resources, aren't there? And
that's true.
I think talk of changing the manager actually it is pretty pointless unless there's a bit more of a significant. We've been saying this for a long time, but a bit more of a significant change somewhere up the hierarchy, I think.
But you got to look as well. Would you look at Klopp? I always look at him as a manager. He's outstanding man manager. You can just see him. Pep as well. You see that. Would they sign Pogba? I don't think they would.
Yeah,
and that's the problem. Man United now, they smell of desperation. And they're just chucking money around, and that's the worst thing you can do, because suddenly you just get the journeyman there that wants some cash. Someone that's, in the old days, people might have taken the pay cut because they wanted to play for Man United, and that's not there anymore.